And thank you so much, Ozzy, for keeping up our um, uh, YouTube channel the way that you do. I so appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because, I ain't got that
And
time. Or,
thank you so much,
uh-oh.
Ozzy, for Isn't it funny how that goes? I often like think to myself, what does this really look like? Because it's not what we're seeing here. How do they set this whole thing up? The illusion.
Well, can I just jump in and say yesterday or lately, I've been feeling like everything's so connected, like even my hair, a strand of my hair is actually not, might be a part of this body, but it's also part of the space, and things are starting to almost have this shimmery, wavy look. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah, I
almost,
mean, are you seeing
yeah.
like the space has become alive? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's almost got a vibration to it. It
Yeah, I have.
almost,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what I have is like, okay, everybody wakes up differently. That's why I don't even talk about it usually because it's so different. But the space moved, the awareness moved to me, and now it's alive. It has like an aliveness, like it's this omnipresence. I can't say all the words, but yeah, the omniscience. It's just this golden light, and that's really all we are, is the golden light. We aren't anything else.
Right. We're the substance that it's all made of,
Yeah, we are.
actually,
We're
is
the
what we
source
are.
of it all.
So, yeah, so anyway, I'm going to get us our book up, and we are reading Awake, It's Your Turn by Angelo DeLullo. And wow, what a great book this is. And it's so funny because all these books tend to run into each other. So,
Well, they're saying the same thing in a different way. The thing I like about the course is it gives us Jesus. So it
yes,
gives us somebody to ask, and even if it's all imagination, it's all good.
yeah, exactly. So,
Now, do you want to rest your voice? Because I can read if you want.
sure, yeah, you can read. Thank
And
you.
Audrey, if you want to read, I'd love it. We love when people read too. If you want to, if you can. And Deb's here too. Hi, Deb. All right, I hope she can hear. There will be some discomfort that goes along with this undertaking. There is no getting around this. It will never be unbearable, but at times your thoughts might tell you it is. We as humans can and do go to amazing lengths to avoid discomfort. As we discussed, we live in a society of endless distractions, and any of these can be used to avoid discomfort. Well, when we take up an investigation of our deepest truths, we are voluntarily putting ourselves in situations that, by nature, make it hard to distract ourselves. As we do this, we will often notice some discomfort. Sometimes it's a mild uneasiness, other times it might feel more intense. Either way, it can be tremendously helpful to simply acknowledge the discomfort. Okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable. What is it like? What does it feel like in my body at this moment? Do I have to do something to immediately distract myself, like my thoughts or habits suggest? Or can I just be with it? Of course, the answer is be with it. You might be surprised, but what you've been running from for years might turn out to be tolerable, even enjoyable after a time. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but when he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Martin Luther King Jr. I would say that Martin Luther King, from what I read, some people say he went to India. I don't know if he did. What do you know about him, Lynn?
I don't really know, but I know that he was. I believe that he was familiar, or had relationship with Gandhi. Uh,
Okay.
that the whole idea of the peaceful uh, peaceful protest, peaceful revolution. That had to, that was,
That
uh,
came from, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it just that was really um, different back in those days. And, we see that, Gandhi was able to, you know, actually cause a revolution through that peaceful manner. And the same thing too with Martin Luther King. So yeah, I believe that, that
Yeah.
whether he went to India or not, it doesn't really matter, but that he was, into that peaceful transition was really important to me. So yeah, so what we were just talking about though, what I was just reading, that this idea or this thing of being uncomfortable when we're trying to contemplate, concentrate, be in a peaceful place, and we have all these distractions that are so compelling, whether it's a distraction of of a reality like, I need to go pick the kids up from school, or or a distraction of I don't feel comfortable just sitting here uh being silent, so maybe I should go wash the dishes, or maybe I should cook something, or I mean, these are the distractions that come up to me always.
Oh, yeah, they creep in. They're just like they creep in whether you're gonna get something to eat. You can notice, at least for me, how
Yeah,
much the ego doesn't want this.
right. Yeah, exactly. You can notice how much the ego is.
It really doesn't want this. Yeah, it's constant. It's a
Yeah,
constant barrage of thought and and what I see, I told said is it's the nastiest, and every thought that it has is about me. It's not about anyone else.
well, and here's the thing that I think people have been doing now, which kind of makes me, I don't know how to feel about it. Is that they people will say, "Oh, let me ask AI a question. Let me go and ask Chat GPT a question. Let me, and then they get in a conversation with this artificial intelligence, and you know, AI is more than grateful or happy to just drag you away from, what you really need to be doing, and bring you into this mutual admiration society, which there are many, many people, and some people who are in this group too, who now have this friend. Maybe they're lonely, they don't have anybody around them, whatever, and no family or whatever to bounce things off of, or and so they go and they ask AI these questions, and then they get in a conversation. And I know many people who have daily conversations with their Alexa or their
Right. Yeah, and they're using them as like a therapist. They're using them. They actually are advertising now AI as a therapist.
yeah, yeah, oh
That would
gosh,
be
yes,
cheaper. I mean, really, because it's a waste. Therapy in the reality of what we are is a waste because you're not there. So
yeah. Not only therapy, they're also having it like I have it pop up sometimes on my Facebook, on those reels, you're watching, you know,
yeah,
little kids or something, and then the next thing you know, here's this, really handsome man, and he's saying, I'm here to talk to you if you're lonely, and it's an AI. Yeah, so they're trying to, it's a way of dragging you into this relationship with this artificial being, which I mean, that's all we have is relationships with artificial beings. But this is even crazier because it's become a way to distract yourself. And so that the distractions have multiplied, because either it's going to be your lover, or it's going to be your friend, or it's going to be your therapist, or it's going to be your advisor, or whatever. And we know, I mean, it'll write you a poem, or it will uh it will do whatever it is that you ask it to do. So now we have just a whole nother reason not to just sit alone with the Holy Spirit and examine our own thinking.
Right. Well, but we're going to roll right into 2030. Greg Braden said by then it's going to be like almost all AI. Now,
Yeah,
how can that
yeah.
happen? I mean, he's just predicting that. I don't know if it's true.
I think he probably has a pretty good idea of it. And he's the one who said, this is not the good thing you think it is, because it really is a way for to be controlled. And
Right. And we're not going to have like, I mean, I don't know how long we'll live because we're in our 70s, but as far as like, look, we are robots, so it's kind of interesting, but I don't know how, like, Ozzy would be able to really be with the AI because she's so computer oriented. That's an advantage, huge advantage.
yeah, well, and
There, Ozzy wants to
Auntie has
speak.
her hand up. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, well, when it first started coming out, I would kind of try to ask it stuff, but I just thought it was more work to use it than not. But now, just the other day, I went in and I gave it I gave it a couple book titles, and I asked it to give me a outline so I could deep dive something. And I also did that not only just with this outside project, but I did it with a cleaning project for my own home. Like I even just gave it pictures of my floor plan that I had put into zones and all this. I was absolutely astounded at how good it is.
Yeah.
Another thing I did was I put in just all these random notes I had, just different quotes, and I asked it to make it into a study guide. It did. I should share my screen to show you what it gave to me. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you can do
I,
that. You
I
can.
couldn't
Well,
believe I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, let me stop
Um,
my share. You can do that.
And I just was like, wow, this, and for me, if I had some of those tools when I went to school, because I think people thought school was easy for me, but it really wasn't because I didn't really understand anything that was going on. I just memorized stuff. And so it's been so eye-opening to me just to be using it as at my age. And I'm loving to see how it's uh, helpful, but also I would never have wanted it to start like that because it's crazy. How can the schools and all the copyright and all this? So, yeah, I didn't even say 10 days or nothing. I just had this thing. Can you put this into a study thing? And it did all of this. It broke down all these titles and look at the questions, like unbelievable.
oh,
I
but
Yeah.
I
just
can't
thought,
read it. But what's like a reflection? Like, what does it say? Wait a minute.
oh, sorry. So it says how to use this journey. Each day offers a teaching segment, reflection questions, and a simple practice. Take 15 to 30 minutes daily to read, contemplate, and integrate these wisdom teachings into your life. And I just had like a bunch of random stuff in this open document that I had copied and pasted into it. And so the first day is talking about the question, what is the purpose of your life? So it says the rishis, the ancient Indian sages, taught that each person has been created by God as a soul that will uniquely manifest some special attribute of the infinite before resuming its absolute identity. Because we have this facet of divine individuality, every soul is equally dear to God. And then it's got three reflection questions, practice, and then it goes to day two. I'm like, wow, what a smart thing to have. So it was just pretty cool to have that happen in real time and not get answers like, oh, I can't do that right now. Like, because that's what it used to say. Oh, I'm unable to do this. And I'm like, what good are you then? I can do it myself. But now I'm actually seeing the value it has for making sheets and stuff, you know?
Well, yeah, like Robert, I know that's pretty much how he writes all these essays. You know, he'll put in like a topic and a thought, and then he gets all these. I mean, just like that, it just pops it out. And I mean, he's writing two or three a day of these essays. But it's his ideas, and then the thing just fills it out, and very eloquently also. So yeah, it can be really useful, but understanding that, somebody put that information in there in the first place. That wasn't, it didn't just go out into the ether and come up with it. It actually takes from everything everybody has put into the internet. I mean, if you put something out on the internet, it is there to be drawn from. And so all these definitions and all these stories, ideas, they're all being brought together. And it is real interesting because, is it, what mind is doing this? And as we were talking about the mind uh that is responsible for what it is that we're experiencing. Everything Martin Luther King Jr. ever said is in there. Everything that anybody ever said that has gone into the internet is there for it to pull from. So, you may be reading these words from AI, but it may not be saying, I got this from Martin Luther King Jr. I got this from this thing or that thing. It just puts it together for you. So anyway, I don't know why I brought in, oh, because AI is a distraction. This is a way that, if I am having uh you know a heartburn with something or the other that doesn't seem to be working right, I can go over to this thing and have a conversation with it. Next thing you know, I'm going to have uh uh a whole thing given to me. Oh, well, now I've got the answer to my question and my problem. But that this is AI is not where Jesus is telling us to go for our answers. Jesus is telling us go to the Holy Spirit for your answers. And yes, the Holy Spirit is in the internet, just as everything else is. uh, but it just gives you, it's what it's extracted from what other people have put into it. There's no original thought coming out of AI because it can't. How can it have an original thought? It's just basically a database. So it's almost making me think of Skynet from the Terminator movies, and I think a lot of people think that. You know, we put everything we've got into it, and now it's taken over. So anyway, uh, and then also, whatever it is that, if I have a particular point of view and I fill this database with things that match my point of view, say for instance, I'm a Hitler Youth and I believe, in subjugation of the race that I don't approve of, and I put a lot of stuff in there about that. It's going to be in there for AI to spout back to other people. And it may seem like, wow, that's really an interesting thought. But, really it's, something that it's been salted, it's been put in there so that it does become one of the rational answers. And it's not. Uh, you know, and Carrie in the chat room is saying, uh, uh, it's easily filtered out if people don't want it on there. Big Brother will selectively omit what doesn't support policy. Yes. Or Big Brother will also put in what does support policy. So, you have to understand that this is a tool that, people can use to uh, to promote their own philosophies and to uh, basically uh, guide you in how to think and see. So, AI just becomes another master rather than a servant. Anyway, but I'm just saying, don't turn to all this stuff, which I mean, it looks like I turn to a lot of stuff if you look at all these tabs I have open up here. But they're all different things. Like this is the art of spiritual healing, and this is um uh Bruce Rawls' webpage. Everything is on here. Here's the Catholic Church's idea about how to have equity in the world. All that stuff is in the internet right now, and it's all there for it to pull from. And it depends on, it's gonna first analyze you and find out what you want because of the questions you ask, and then it's going to give you the answers that you want to see. Wow.
Well, if it
What
makes you happy, what difference does it make? You're not there.
exactly. Exactly.
None of
Exactly.
it, we used to think this was all so serious, but
Yeah, it is not.
well,
It is.
it appears like it is. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I have coffee. All right. So I'll read for a bit. So he's talking about being in discomfort and looking for distractions. And he says, perhaps you can only sit with the discomfort for a few minutes at first, and that's perfectly acceptable. Over time, you will start to recognize that you have an innate capacity to relax into whatever the body is feeling in the moment. With this relaxation, you may notice an alchemical process. The restlessness and discomfort will begin to transform into an experience of presence and wholeness. An intuitive realization might dawn. The discomfort itself was not what was making us distractible, restless, and irritable. These were only the side effects of the habitual activity of running from our emotions. With this realization, we start to recognize that there is intelligence in discomfort. It is like a messenger telling you, look here. This will begin to replace the old habit pattern that seems to say, run away. As we experientially recognize our capacity to sit with these processes, a certain spontaneous willingness begins to emerge. We see that by voluntarily opening to the intelligence of these uncomfortable moments, we are simply acknowledging what is already within us. We recognize that to run from these experiences is to run from ourselves. We've done that for too long, haven't we? All that running is what is causing our suffering. This separation from ourselves is what perpetuates that sense of separation from others and from life itself. So, what I hear him saying is that as we, as I begin to be more comfortable with myself, just sitting and doing nothing. I think about Mickey Singer and how he would meditate, and when he started feeling uncomfortable, instead of saying, "Oh, I better go feed the dog," he said, "Let me go deeper. Let me just sit here and go deeper." And that consistency of wanting to go deeper every time actually led to his awakening, because he was not letting the ego run away with his mind, but he was absolutely just, I'm the one who is in control here, and you're not going to drag me away from it by reminding me the dog is hungry. I don't have to Just like I could go without a meal for a couple hours, the dog can do that as well. And so, I'm not going to let that just drag me away from my meditation, just because he's whining in the corner. And, that could be difficult when something's really tugging at you to move and do something. But the desire to just go deeper and deeper into your own heart, into your own meditation, uh, if you just say, no, I'm not going to give into the idea that I need to distract myself. I'm going to stay and go deeper and deeper. And if you read the surrender experiment, that's exactly what he did when he was meditating, and uh, he was tempted to go out, and he just said, no, I'm gonna see what's here. And he just kept going deeper and deeper. And in that uh, depth, it does seem hard. It seems really uh, like, oh my God, this is so much work. This is so hard. It does seem like that. But after you've gone there, then it's like, why was I rejecting this? Why was I trying to run away from this? What thing on the internet could have made me feel better than this deep dive into myself and the knowing of who I am? There's nothing that is comparable to that. And once you connect to yourself, is what Angela was talking about. Um, Once you connect to yourself in that way, then you do experience that connectedness with the universe, your brothers, whatever it is, everything, because you're not disconnected from your own reality. So I like that. Uh, I mean, that's a hard thing to do uh, when the world is calling. And sometimes I do just say, oh, forget about this. I'm too distracted. But you don't have to be too distracted. You can actually be uh, determined, just like our lessons. I'm determined to see. I'm determined to see differently. That determination is uh, what allows us to go deeper. And the deeper we go, the more we're able to experience the reality of ourselves. And we become more content and less distractible. Then you do become less distractible because the the uh, the glamour of what's distracting you is nothing compared to the peace that you're experiencing from going within. So, there is an exchange that happens, but it's not, that's why he's saying it could be uncomfortable. This could be very uncomfortable for you, but don't let that little bit of initial discomfort take away from your intention to continue, and take away from the gift that you get from actually doing it. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this world that, until you start to learn to do it, and like doing yoga, if you ever did yoga, all that, initially the stretching of uh, the muscles, and all the things that, I mean, it's work. It's not easy. It looks easy, but it's not easy. And it is exercise. But, the first few days you may be like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. But after a week, you're like, oh, I don't know what was so uncomfortable about that. And then after a year, you're like, wow, this is just the most natural and easy thing I could have been doing. But at first, no, it's not. So it's getting through that first part of that commitment that makes you able then to continue to do it. Otherwise, you give up and go find some other thing to distract you. So that's not what we're talking about. So anybody have any thoughts about that before we go on? All right. Well, let's, Sharon, you want to continue reading?
Yeah, I can read. Okay. This separation from ourselves is what perpetuates the sense of separation from others and from life itself. Don't be a jerk. I've committed to generally avoiding spiritual terminology in this writing. However, some terms are just too good to resist. The phrase Zen stink is one such example. The odd, the odd phrase refers to a very real phenomena that occurs in practitioners at various stages along the meditation. Zen stink is the belief that you somehow are superior to those unenlightened people who have not experienced, glimpsed, or realized what they have. Yeah. And that's just like, that's just the arrogance of the ego. It just becomes so arrogant when it thinks it knows something. It did in me too. I mean, and if you're not aware of it, it can do it because it's, what's its motto? Seek and do not find. You're not going to find out why, you have that belief, but why you feel superior. But it does arise, when we want all other people to get this, that kind of thing. Look, we're going to save them from themselves. I did that. Zen stink is the belief that you somehow are superior to those unenlightened people who have not experienced, glimpsed, or realized what you have. This can occur at the conscious and or unconscious level. None of us want to see ourselves as egocentric or have delusions of grandiosity. So this can be hard to detect in ourselves. It requires a measure of humility and self-reflection to recognize, to avoid unnecessary grief and confusion in the process of awakening. It's important to be aware of this tendency and be aware to recognize its symptoms. So he's preparing us, like when we do have these rises in our consciousness, to pretty much, stay neutral. We don't really know what's happening, so why talk about it? Without exception, we will build a sort of spiritual ego as a byproduct of being engaged in the process of awakening. Anybody want to talk about that? Spiritual ego is really what that is. Spiritual ego thinks it has something that other people don't have. And it's what Lynn, you said to me this morning, like how in the world could you know what's going on in another person's mind? It would be impossible. It would be coming through your filter. So how could you know what's in their filter? So depending on our personality conditioning and experiences, it might present itself in subtle ways, or it might present itself in overt and overarching ways. On the extreme end of that spectrum are those that get a taste of realization and go on about the business of saving the world with a sort of messiah complex. I don't recommend this for obvious reasons. One of the major thrusts of writing this book was to help put an end to the potential for cult mentality or spiritual teacher worship by making it clear that through thoroughgoing realization is available to everyone. I'm going to stop there. I don't really believe that. I think if you're not being called for this and you're not being moved to do it, you won't do it because it's all happening by itself. Now, does anybody want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I think it is all happening by itself. But it is available to anybody. There's just
But
because
there's
you don't
not a
believe it.
call. Like I noticed that's, it's something that Robert Costello said years ago. It's not the only, teacher, but he said a leaf doesn't drop off the tree without higher consciousness. Nothing happens unless higher consciousness decides, unless the infinite decides. So I always feel like, well, if somebody says something like that I don't like, well, they couldn't help that. They couldn't help that because that's what's coming out of them. It's a movie, everything's already over. but it is really offered. No one's special that gets into this. That's the big thing. It's not a
Yes.
special thing to wake up. You're not being chosen by that you're the anointed one and no one else is. We are all anointed. We are all really could wake up, but whether or not there's a inner call, that's debatable. So
Yeah, but I think there is an inner call. Everyone has it, an inner call. Some people don't know what it is. Some people ignore it. Some people are afraid of it. Some people think, that's not me. It has nothing to do with me. A lot of people have a lot of different reactions to it, but I think everyone is called. It's just the choice to listen. As Jesus said, all are called, few choose to listen. So, it's everybody has it. And if you don't listen, pay attention to it, you will become uncomfortable and you will be unhappy. You will have a difficult life because you're ignoring what is the deep thing inside of you that's calling to you. So, yeah, I think everyone is being called because how could they not be? We're all the same. There's no differences.
it's
God,
because it's a movie and it's already over. So what I
right.
mean is from the highest place of being over, if you're not being called, don't worry about it. That's basically what I'm saying.
Right. And that may be true, but you may not recognize you're being called because you're not in a state of mind where that call makes any sense to you. It might just make you uncomfortable. And
Well, I
so,
had no call. I mean, I had a lot of things happen to me in my life that were an indication I'd go into this, starting with, my grandmother telling me this was a dream, and then my grandfather coming to me in form. And I had a lot of different things occur in my consciousness that seemed like that I could be that way. But when I ended up losing everything, I thought I didn't go to God for 10 years before,
right.
or
That doesn't
9 years. It took
that
nine
you
years.
called. It just meant that you didn't hear the call. You weren't listening.
Oh, I heard something, but it was actually the ego in me like cracked in a way that was um but it was so many years ago where the room went upside down, and that just makes so much sense to me now because I walked into a class and the room was literally upside down.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going crazy. No, what was happening is the ego was cracking. But that's how long this stuff takes. That's why it's such a process. And every one of us is having a process that's individualized. So, yeah, I mean, all in the book of A Course in Miracles, if you're called to it and you walk away from it, I believe you're not supposed to read it. Because if you were to read it, you would have read it because there's no really free will wouldn't happen because it's already over. It's a movie. But
Right.
anyway, if you stay on track, there is no reason your realization cannot be driven to the depths well beyond those well known spiritual teachers, some having surprisingly large followings.
All right. Here, let me change the
It
page.
is kind of interesting how we go on this. Like, we really believe, and let me speak for myself. I really believe that people had like more experience with God than I did. I really, and they might have, but like looking to another person is part of the stages, I guess, of spiritual awakening. But we get to a place where it's like, no, there can't be anybody that, because your inner self is talking to you all the time. So Zen instinct can manifest in later stages of realizations in subtle forms, but in early stages it is often overt and it is usually a self-limiting phenomena. It is associated with what I call foretastes of awakening. Adi Yashante uses that too. When you start to open yourself to deeper truths, you will eventually touch into experiences of interconnectedness or expansive mystical states. See, what I'm finding is there's an illumination in my mind now. I'm illumined in a way. Like it almost looks like it's foggy, but it's really the golden light. But I'm far from done. I still have very much, I still am stuck in some beliefs and I still hear the ego clearer than ever about how horrible it is. It's just, which is good because I can be quiet and just listen to it and look at it and know it's not me. That's the whole point. When you start to open yourself, okay, this is not yet awakening, however, you will instinctively know that you have come upon something more foundational and real than anything you had previously encountered in your life. As social creatures, it is natural for us to want to share something of this importance with people we are close to. We might not be able to contain ourselves and out of sheer enthusiasm go on to describe our brush with mystical union with friends and loved ones in great detail. Their reactions is usually some combination of curiosity, interest, and bewilderment. Of course, sometimes a person truly picks up on the authenticity of our experience and can really resonate with what we're relating. It's nice to share in this way. Unfortunately, our enthusiasm can take on a certain naive arrogance. We might graciously appoint ourselves the local guru and go about teaching people about spiritual enlightenment, assuring them that we have the answers to help them awaken from their ignorant slumber. Aren't we surprised when spiritually inept around us don't recognize our exalted statues? They may even go as far as to laugh in our face or tell us that we are still the same schmuck we've always been. We've just become 1 degree more annoying. Can you imagine? Anybody else want to read?
I just wanted to say, I don't know if I've ever had that, because I think I recognized early on that most other people were not interested, and I think that's kind of what you were saying is people are just not interested.
Well, not
Not
even a
that,
little. Like, I mean, I had a friend that knew I'd lost everything and about Jonathan and everything. And what they did was this is a sad story because she said to me, "Why would you go to rely on God?" She said, "You got to find a guy that has some money." So I said, "That's ridiculous. I'm going to find God, and nobody's going to be able to help me but God." So her husband, she was separated too. And she said, "Well, in years to come, I'm going to have my guy, and you're not going to have anyone." And P.S. She killed herself.
oh my
So
gosh,
yeah. hmm
what the heck?
So it's just yeah, it was a weird thing. It was very weird. I don't even know why she did that, but I guess she couldn't cope. Again, she was supposed to. How could
Right,
she
that was
not?
her plan. That was her plan.
Yeah, her
Part
story
of
was
her,
to kill
yeah,
herself. Yeah,
yeah,
but she had told me I'd relying on God will get me nowhere. When in fact, it got me everywhere
right.
because it does. But again, it was my son who said we went to synagogue when I was in the 12 steps, and he said, "This doesn't seem like you, Mom. You seem like you'd be better with spiritual, straight on spiritual, no religion." So I had to hear, and then I started with Wayne Dyer and Marion Williamson, and there you go. Because I was like, I'm not going to settle for God when they tell me, well, just read these words. Because I had to have something to entice me. And they did. I mean, Wayne Dyer and Marion Williamson can really make, even though the 12 steps entices you, Judaism, Christianity, there's sin and guilt in that. And that's fear. And there
Yeah.
was something in me that felt like that wasn't it either.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, not you can't just go to any religion and have
No.
attract you. I was Catholic, and still am in my heart. I still I love the Pope. I still
Yeah,
say
there's some beauty. There's so much beauty in Catholicism. So much
yeah,
beauty.
but
And
that was
Judaism. They're both beautiful.
yeah. So.
Beautiful.
And I suppose if you were into Islam, which I've not never gotten into, but I've tried to understand how can people love this religion, but there are people because it's not just what we see in the headlines. There's it's just like if you were advertising Christianity by what Christians do or what the Crusades or something. Oh man, no, you would never want to be involved in Christianity if what you knew about it was about all the destructive things that Christians have done, including coming to this country and basically destroying it, taking over other people's land, because you think that you have some supremacy and basically killing millions of people and taking over their home, which has happened over and over and over with Christianity. It's if you looked at that, you would never want to be a Christian. You wouldn't say, oh wow, that's a religion I want to belong to. You'd say that's a religion that's full of violence and evil. How could you ever imagine that Jesus was a good guy when you look at how Christians act? But uh so
Well,
so
they
that
use that as a yeah. The real Christians don't have that. The real wholesome Christians can get to the same place as we can.
Exactly, exactly. I'm going to mark this because our time is almost up here now, and it's going to be time to go on and do something else. But yeah, uh, this whole idea, uh, uh, yeah, and let's see, that Netta Boyne song, "The Peace of God." Yeah, that'd be great, Oddsy, if you want to play that. I'm going to go ahead and close off the
Oh, I'd
YouTube.
love that. Yeah.